Keen followers of AuthentiKit will already know that the Spitfire cockpit, which was sourced by the RAF Battle of Britain Memorial Flight Engineering Team, came from a very small business called Creative Cockpits on the west coast of Cumbria, the very edge of the Lake District. Neil Patterson makes these cockpits for private customers and museums, and it's then up to his customers to fit them out with flight controls. As you know, the Royal Air Force chose AuthentiKit for their controls. You may also remember that I was recently invited to visit, and he was delighted to show me the Red Arrow's Hawk cockpit that was in his workshop at the time. Well, just recently, Neil invited me to pop up again, as we had been discussing the idea of his Spitfire cockpits coming preloaded with AuthentiKit fixing points, effectively replicating the configuration of the Mark IX, which the RAF's Spitfire fighter pilots are now using as a training aid. I hadn't actually seen one of his Spitfire cockpits in his workshop, and that's what I thought he was going to show me. So I was a little intrigued by all the showmanship. Why was his Spitfire cockpit covered in a cloth? Well, let me show you. RAF Coningsby's got at the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. All right, flight. Okay, fellas, go for it.
Well, you've not drawn anything rude on it.
Ooh. Ooh. Oh, hey. No, you didn't tell me about... Well, maybe you did.
Chuck that round.
This is this version 2?
Yeah, the new and improved aluminium version.
Oh, that's tasty, isn't it? So what is it, 1 mil aluminium?
Yeah, 1 mil, yeah.
That is lovely stuff, isn't it? There's a door open.
Yeah, the door opens and looks quite well in aluminium.
Ooh. Bit more of a... Is it the same seat?
Same seat.
Same seat, yeah.
Yeah. Same seat. It's not fastened down, so careful if you're climbing in.
Wow. Well, I imagine that your reaction was pretty similar to mine. Just wow. And on top of that, we were going to spend a few hours developing an AuthentiKit mounting system. So it was time to roll up our sleeves and get our tool belts out.
Should we try that on now?
Yeah, let's go for that.
Put the chassis lever on and try it. That's nice and easy.
Brilliant.
That clears everything.
By the end of the day, we'd made great progress, although we weren't quite sure how best to mount some of the controls on the throttle and trim side of the Spitfire cockpit. So we decided to call it a day and go and have some fun. So the other very cool thing about Neil, apart from the cool things he does in his shed with Hawks and Spitfires and ME-109s, is he's got a full PPL. And here we are at Kirkbride Airport in the North Lakes, and he's got a share in this C-42 Microlight, which is not what I thought of when I first thought about microlights. So tell us about this, Neil, because we're about to go up in it and have a fly over the lakes.
So yeah, C-42, very much like a Cessna 152. Very similar performance figures.
Shall we walk around it?
Yep. It's a, watch your head on there. It doesn't bother me because I'm not very tall. But it's a 1.4 litre engine, flat 4, boxer engine, very much like a Beetle engine. Part air cooled, part water cooled. So it'll cruise at between 80 knots, 90 knots. Stall speed, 32 knots full flap. So really good for getting into short fields. So yeah, the cockpit's a little bit cosy.
Cosy's the word I was thinking.
You're about to find out. There's a bit of storage under there. That's actually the throttle. It's a bit strange. People sometimes put the hand on and think it's the joystick. That's actually the throttle. So that's full throttle. That's throttle off. It can be stowed if the passenger isn't going to be doing any flying. And the stick is in the middle. Standard stick. The brakes are there. It's based on a motorbike brake, that made by Magura.
Fortunately, I was in good hands with Neil. As well as having held a PPL for many years, he's training to be a Microlight instructor. And after 1 hour's flying and some practice stalls, I'd pretty much doubled my total flying hours experience of a lifetime. Well, that was a fun way to end the day, but we still had work to do. And a few days later, with a huge thank you to Corporal Ken Dowling of the BBMF, we had the information we needed to position the controls in exactly the same way their Spitfire pilots were using them in the sim. This was quite an exciting moment, both for myself and Neil. So I asked Neil what he thought about it all. So Neil, I'm back again at the Creative Cockpits headquarters on the west coast of Cumbria because we've had another fantastic day. We've got some information from Ken at the BBMF, who's been helping us get the exact position of the controls, the AuthentiKit controls they've got mounted. There you are, showing off the chassis lever for us. And we've just been working on the rudder bias, and we've got a really good placement for that, a really secure fixing. Possibly better than they've done at the BBMF even. We've developed a new system. So Neil, it's looking great in its shiny finish, and you've been talking about maybe having a silver finish version, just like the famous silver Spitfire. You must be feeling pretty pleased with how it's come out.
Yeah, definitely. It's come out a lot. It feels to touch. It feels a lot more realistic than the plastic, and it feels cold to the touch. but it just makes a big difference.
I agree. Yeah, looks stunning. Looks stunning. So it's compared to version 1. I mean, version 1 was fantastic too, but this is amazing. Will it cost a lot more than version 1?
The aluminium is a little bit more expensive, just because of the material costs versus the plastic. It's coming in, so the original kit in plastic's 850, 850 quid, and with another extra 150 quid for the aluminium, so we'll call it £999.99 in
Lovely
aluminium
price
for the kit.
For the kit, and assembled is.
Oh, you're testing me now.
500 quid. So look at the website and add about 150 quid.
Yeah.
You've got the price there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. So are there any other differences compared to version 1, apart from the skin being aluminium?
Everything else is essentially the same. Nothing different dimensionally. The only thing we haven't trialled is whether these aluminium skins will actually go up through a standard loft hatch. So
right, explain that a bit more for us.
Right, okay, so the original intention, and I'll be honest, I'm not aware of any customers that have done this yet,
right.
But the original intention when we designed this was that, father and son, say, would be able to build one in their attic.
Yeah.
In your standard house, and all the parts would fit up through a loft hatch, so you could have a Spitfire in your attic.
Perfect.
But as up to press, I'm not aware of anybody who's done it yet.
It's a brilliant idea though, isn't it? So we're making great progress here. We've got the controls in. I suppose that's another difference, is that the current version will have an option for AuthentiKit controls.
That is a difference,
the
yes.
The mounting positions for them. So when do you hope to have it finished?
So it's 28th of May is its first outing at Kirkbride Fly-In.
What's a fly-in for the rest of us?
So a fly-in is, it's not an air show per se. There won't be air displays, but there'll be very interesting aircraft flying in and on the ground, and there'll be displays on the ground as well.
Okay.
Of some very interesting aircraft, but the best way to find that out is if you're on Facebook, is to go on Friends of Kirkbride Facebook group, and it's all on there. All the details of visiting aircraft are on there.
Okay, so Kirkbride, so that's basically Cumbria, top end of Cumbria, go up to Carlisle on the M6, and just about 10 minutes in from there. Is that round about where you find it?
Yeah.
An old, famous in the war, bomber base.
It was actually a maintenance base where, maintenance maybe not the right word. They flew them out of the factories there because it was out of bombing range of the Germans. Flew them out of the factories, painted on the camouflage, installed things like the bomb racks and machine guns at Kirkbride.
Right, so a ton of history.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So if people wanted to come, they could try it out at Kirkbride, and could they order one?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. So that is, if you want one of these, you can order it on May 28th through the website, I guess, or come and see it, try it, and order one from Neil himself. Well, that's all we have time for now, folks. This is a slightly different video to the usual AuthentiKit assembly video, but I hope you found it interesting. I will also be at Kirkbride myself on May 28th, and Neil will be there with both his Red Arrows Hawk cockpit and his new Spitfire cockpit. And if you want to talk to him about his C-42, that will no doubt be on hand as well. Perhaps I'll see some of you there.
We'll go back the smooth way, shall we?